Welcome, Night Owls, to the Book Club After Dark podcast, an inviting moonlit podcast. I'm your host, Danny.
And I'm Michelle. We break down fantasy, romantasy, dark romance, and thriller novels.
All things enchanting, intriguing, suspenseful, and maybe a little spicy.
Each episode features intimate discussions on captivating stories, character breakdowns, fan theories, and more. And here's your content warning. This podcast contains mature themes and discussions that may not be suitable for all audiences. Episodes include explicit language and descriptions of mature romance, as well as depictions of violence and other intense subject matter. This podcast is rated R for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Yep, and going forward from here, there's going to be, of course, lots of spoilers as we continue our coverage of Brimstone for the Fae and Alchemy series. We assume that you've read Brimstone and Quicksilver, so consider this your spoiler warning.
Let's get cozy because the best stories are told after dark.
All right, Michelle. 2 things. If you're watching on video, I did have a chemical peel, so my skin's a little bit red, and I'm not allowed to wear makeup right now. I'm in the healing phase, day 3 or 4, and you're not supposed to wear makeup, so I'm doing what they told me to do.
For a whole week?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize it.
No, I think it's like day 4 you're okay, but we're getting there. So anyway,
all right.
A little redness is going on, so if anyone's wondering if you can see the peeling or whatever, I'm fine. It was intentional, self-inflicted. I paid for this. So I'll be fine. But we have the drink of the episode. So the drink of the episode today is the Rot this evening. That's what we've got going on. So we're calling this the Rot. And what it is, it's actually a dirty soda. And it is inspired because, Michelle, while you're pregnant, you had so many dirty sodas. I think you have a dirty soda today as well.
I do. I do.
Yeah, postpartum, we got a dirty soda. All right.
Yeah.
This one I made, you can make, oh my gosh, if you haven't made a dirty soda, you can make them with all kinds of stuff. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole, pun intended, looking up different recipes for this drink. And for this one, I decided to incorporate some stuff that was like red and a little acidic and just some fresh fruit. And so this has puree in it, fresh lime juice. And of course, because you're on a dairy-free kick and I am also dairy-free, this is a coconut milk-based whipped cream. So have all of that in a Coke Zero, which is my preferred. You can use any type of cola that you want for this. But yeah, so cheers. This is the drink of the episode, the Rot, of course, based on, oh my God, that's really good. Based on the Rot that we see in the book. And also, I thought it would be good to, if we were going to make a drink that was based on the Rot, obviously the Rot's horrific, but I wanted to have something, I was like, if I'm going to make a drink out of it, maybe I can put like a positive spin. And so this was a drink
Add some
that
fresh
I thought
fruit.
kind of, yeah, make it a little bit on brand, but also somewhat fun because in the book it's actually terrifying. But here we go. The Rot. Cheers.
Cheers. Soda. You definitely should.
If you're doing dry January,
a lot more.
Yeah, and they're January. There you go. You can get like a mocktail. You got a mocktail version thing going on.
There you go. Mine's not as fancy for sure. I do so because I'm still breastfeeding and I'm trying to watch my caffeine. So I have to do diet Coke caffeine free. And I don't have to. You can technically drink caffeine while you're breastfeeding. I just want to be cautious because I don't want a fussy baby. I already don't sleep. So why am I going to put myself through that? And fair. I have oat milk creamer in mine. So you can do something super basic when you're doing dirty sodas. I feel like it's like one of the most versatile drinks you can have. That's fun and fizzy and just, yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome. It was a lot of fun to make. Maybe we'll see some more dirty sodas in our future because I want to do like a lemon lime one.
Ooh.
So yeah, if anyone has any ideas or has a favorite dirty soda recipe, definitely let us know. Tonight, we are diving into Yavelia again as we explore chapters 28 through 36 of Brimstone by Callie Hart. Of course, whether you're reading along with us or you're just here for the book talk, we are glad that you're here.
So glad. So let's go into chapter 28. Saeris woke up the Quicksilver and she is expecting Kingfisher to come through. And when you're reading, you're expecting Kingfisher because she's describing like his black hair and everything. But no, we find the most awful Arias just comes out with a bunch of royal guards. And Belicon essentially sent him. They were like waiting. And when they saw the Quicksilver pool disrupt, they went in because Belicon wants to offer her a deal, which the deal is super shitty. Let's be honest. He will provide shelter from the Rot in exchange for her services as an alchemist, which You can't trust Bellicon. Obviously, she's going to get used and abused. And Everlane's return.
We are alchemy slave.
Yeah. And Everlane, who has yet to wake up. And Fisher's execution. Yeah. So this is worst deal ever. I'm sorry. He needs to go to business school and work on his negotiation skills because that's not it. And while Saeris isn't oath-sworn, Orias emphasizes that all of her friends and everyone she loves is oath-sworn. So if she doesn't take this deal, then he's going to do some fucked up shit with them. It backs her into the corner. But ultimately, she's just, yeah, fuck y'all. And she, since the Quicksilver rune has been activated or sealed, she turns Solus into these two swords, which are Eramar and Selenir, and they represent mercy and honor. So I think that's really cool that, one, she's able to do that. She's just able to manipulate the Quicksilver at will. Now we're seeing her come into like more of her true power as an alchemist, where she's been dabbling around before. And two, this further pays tribute to the Quicksilver being like of the gods, right? Because it named themselves. The swords named themselves at this point. So she didn't name them. But this then cue badass fight scene, because that's what we've been waiting for. We've been since basically the last high action scene is with the Scorpion God. That, you know, that was the last high action scene we've seen. So it's been some time since we've gotten some action here. And the 5 guards attack Saeris. They have null blades, which she's just, what the fuck? And we've talked about null blades before, but null blades negate any sort of magic, so alchemy is included in that. And she killed 5 of them using her swords and her magic, despite the null blades. And then Kingfisher and Carrion.
5. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. We have to go back. We're just flying through here, Michelle. We've got some key items that we've got to talk about. First, our girl Saeris finally is coming through, because we've been waiting. Okay, we've been waiting for her till she was talking to Hazarak. She really was like insecure. We're not having a lot of our girl Saeris that we saw in book 1. It's taken some time. Granted, your girl's turned into a vampire, half fae like situation. So understood that she's a bit miscombobulated. She's a little bit messed up here. And so it took her a while to get herself together. And we're finally seeing this in chapter 28, where she's like, I'm fucking done pussyfooting around here, for lack of a better term. I'm coming into my own, and I'm just going to figure this shit out. And so her making these 2 swords, we need to understand like how big of a deal this is in this world, that she comes into her own power and just knows that she can manipulate the Quicksilver in such a way that she tells it what she wants. She's, I already know I'm going to compel you to become 2. Like, this is just huge. This is a huge moment for her. It's a huge moment in her journey as an alchemist, seeing this type of power that she can wield. Because remember, Callie Hart basically told us that we're only going to see about, or at least in the first book, we saw like less than 10% of Saeris's true abilities by the end of Quicksilver. So I think that in chapter 28 here, it really is a true understanding of the fact that she is coming a lot more into her own and trusting her abilities and understanding how much power she truly has. So this is a really big deal. I also want to talk about what a piece of shit Orias is, and how Bellicon is just so used to getting whatever the fuck he wants that, I'm actually giving you an offer. Because you're like, oh, who's going to take that? He's more, why would I even offer something? Like, I'm Bellicon. I feel like he's just so arrogant. He's such an leader. And Orias is also just so like, how dare you even like scoff at this? You're at least, I'm not kidnapping you. I'm giving you a choice. Like,
exactly. Really? Is it a choice?
Like, you're really not.
No, but still, it's not a choice at all.
He's such a dick about it. He's not like, oh, look, come with us. Look at all these things we offer you. It's more like, come with us or you're going to die. You know?
Yeah, basically.
There's not a lot here. Anyway, I just wanted to comment on that and really stick out the fact that the Null Blade is mentioned here, and that Bellicon has these and knows about these. And it's very interesting because he figured this out and knows that they negate magic, and now we're seeing them and trying to understand what the fuck a Null Blade is.
How long has he had these? How long has he, because, he's doing his own shit. How long has he known about the rot? What is his play here? How does he know about the feeders? Is he part of the reason why they're here? And that's why he has the Null Blades? Or what kind of deal did he make with whoever did bring the rot in? There's a lot of questions here based around the no blades and the fact that his guards have them. But yeah. So no blades, they exist. Also, after this encounter, we have Kingfisher, Carrie, and Hayden. They appear through the Quicksilver. And what's really fun with this part of the scene is Kingfisher literally witnesses Saeris be a badass again. Because he's, what the holy shit, you were able to defeat all 5 of these guards on your own, really not breaking a sweat so much, just because she is honed in on her magic. And Kingfisher ultimately wants to kill Orias, right? Because he's the only one left.
Yeah.
He's like, why do you deserve to live? And then Saeris, no, let's send him with a message. I'm just like, girl, he'll get the message when Orias doesn't show back. You don't have to send him with the message. The message is very clear when he doesn't return.
Yeah.
That means he's dead. You don't have to do this. But Saeris, I don't want to kill, blah, blah, blah. Now is not the time to show mercy. I don't know. That would have been my thing. I was like, girl, what are you doing? This is going to bite you in the ass,
Right.
which it does. It Kingfisher, she has more restraint than I do. Your ass would be grass if I had a say in it. And yeah, we should have listened to Kingfisher. But he is like 1800 years old, and he's trying to give Saeris a little bit of a, I'll let you make decisions here. Sometimes when you're 24, you don't need to make decisions. So even though she's queen and she's a badass, there are times where you're still 24. You don't have experience.
For this part.
Yep.
Yeah. I do. So in this fight scene too, when Kingfisher comes through following this and is like sees what's happening here, he actually asks her if she needs help, and she's no. And I liked this moment too, because it's empowering for her, because a lot of times in romantasy and just any fantasy, it's always like, damsel in distress, I have to go immediately save her. And Kingfisher is just like, mind to mind, do you need me to like step in here? And she's, no, I got this. He's like, okay.
Right.
And lets her have her moment to do this herself.
And I like seeing that theme across a lot of more modern fantasy. Like, I feel like with more classical fantasy, or even like fantasy did a decade ago, it was very much more damsel in distress and I need my prince, blah,
And
blah,
don't get
blah.
us-
Classic Disney princess.
There's a time and place. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But now we see more and more modern romantasy that's, no, the woman's the badass. It's more of like the underdog. Who am I, a human, to be able to conquer all these things? And it's more of thematic of just because of who you are and where you come from doesn't mean you're not able to reach these high attainable goals and be a complete badass in and of your own. So I do that theme. Callie Hart does a fantastic job in really underlining that, as well as a lot of more modern romantasy authors as well.
Agreed. It's a really good new thing that we're seeing a lot more of. I wish it wasn't new, to be fair. Here we are. So it's a newish thing that we do see more of. We see it. I think we've seen it quite a bit. But to your point, it's taken a while for that to be true in romantasy and in fantasy, to see that happen. And I'm here for it. I do love a good damsel in distress, though. Every once in a while, it's nice to have the damsel in distress moments where they're there for each other.
Love a good Disney princess.
I think we saw quite a bit of that. Yeah, but we saw quite a bit of
Daddy,
that.
I love him.
Yeah, but we did see quite a bit of that in book 1. So we have our moments, and then she's now come into her own. She's got her own thing going. One other thing that happens here in this scene is her Quicksilver rune like locks into place. And so this was a really powerful key point of chapter 28 as well. Brings us into chapter 29 and Hayden. What a guy. That guy, Hayden.
He deserves a best brother mug. Best brother in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he comes through the Quicksilver pool, and Taylena ends up watching over Hayden for a time. And so they don't have like much of a conversation here just yet. But Saeris needs to rest because obviously she just killed 5 dudes and she's done quite a bit here. So Archer has the fire sprites go and get her room and bath ready. And then there's this comment, if we talked about it a little bit with Orias, he had mentioned in the previous chapter that all of the soldiers with Belicon are oathbound. The meaning of what he's saying here is to say that, oh, don't forget, by the way, like Kingfisher included, all of the Lupoprelia, they've all been oathbound to me. And this is problematic because we have, what are we going to do if Saeris needs them or they're in a time of need? But then Fisher is, just so you know, like this has to still do with the fact that it's distance related. So if Belicon's not near me, I'm no longer tied to any requirements for him. How Kalish protects him as well. He's saying, hey, as long as I'm a significant distance from him, he no longer wields that power over us. But yeah, it is true. If we are close, I am duty bound, like oath bound, not just like a little bit, not like I just said a couple words, but like magically tied to and bound to Belicon and whatever Belicon wishes. So she's a little concerned about this. But then, of course, we have spicy time because this is a natural segue into such things.
Yeah, of course. After serious conversations, she distracts with the...
Yeah, right. And so what were your thoughts about that? Because I feel like we went from a really deep, serious conversation to, let's hook up now. What were you thinking in that moment?
But it's not hooking up with them anymore. It's... They haven't seen each other in 3 days. And honestly, if I haven't seen my husband in 3 days, I'd be like, okay. No, I love him. But I feel like they're still in the enthrallment of new love. And at this point, me and my husband have been married for 8 years now. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, but also,
how was your break? I love you. Yeah.
The boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah, they're mated. Like, early... So yeah.
Yeah.
They're still like new love. So 3 days feels like forever for them. So it's balancing. I haven't seen you. The fate of the world is like really weighing on us. And I just got hit with some bad news. And the natural way to, if you're in a very loving and healthy relationship, to express immense passion is through sex. So I know a lot of people were like, the sex there was too much of it and it was meh, because how dare they be in a healthy relationship and have sex? Because that's not, we like reading toxic things and red flags and all that stuff. But it really just solidifies their security in each other and their long-term relationship. So I didn't really feel like it was much of a tone switch in terms of that, because they're having an intimate conversation. So physically and emotionally, they're having an intimate moment. So naturally, it's a progression to the physical, which escalates the emotional. Do you have similar thoughts or something different? Okay.
No, I agree. And I think we'll talk about it actually down the rabbit hole. The segment today is going to be about, did this book have too much spice? Because a lot of book talk had a lot of like negative criticism about that. And I thought it was very interesting. Yeah. It's like, you can't win. There wasn't enough and now there's too much. It's like, what? But I will say this, the two key things coming out of chapter 29 that we have to focus on, other than the spicy time and all that, there's one like extremely highlighted quote. One of the quotes that we actually reacted to, one of the viral clips that we did before the book even came out, is in this chapter, excuse me. And more importantly, there's a moment with Archer where he's getting everything ready and he's talking about this Kingfisher little ornament, like a little tiny Kingfisher bird. And this is where Kingfisher's mother gets the name for him from this little tiny gift that she was given. And we don't think much of this at the time. We're just like, oh, Archer says this in passing. We have to remind ourselves that Callie Hart does nothing without intention. For her to bring up this little ornament thing that was Adina's, that Lady Adina's, who is Kingfisher's mother, and talking about his name, you're just like, oh, that's okay. That's like where the nickname for Kingfisher comes from. We don't know his Fae name, but this is where his nickname comes from. That's cool. And we like don't think about it again.
Right.
And to our own, at least I didn't file it away. I probably should have. Did you?
Mm-hmm. When I did my reel about the backstory in Kingfisher and like the mythology and everything, I really focused on like the mated aspect of the two lovers and how honestly like it turns bad ultimately for them, which I think is really foreshadowed already. But the fact that she had a literal Kingfisher, because I didn't realize that bird existed in this realm, because it's like a very specific, it's a very pretty bird. Very specific, very bright blue. But I was like, bird. Okay. Look out for birds. Birds will be important at some point in time. Just because she was like, remember in her interview, she's like, there's something on every fucking page. So I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
She pointed out bird. All right. It's a literal bird. So let's tap that away. Which honestly, I was like, the fucking Stargazers. As soon as the Stargazers became like important, I was like, you're bird. And
then the name of the
obviously
Stargazers, I
uh-huh.
was just, oh, Stargate. Like, I didn't put that together either, like,
Yeah.
till later, which was great. And honestly, sometimes I'm like a vibe reader where I'm not trying to figure everything out, especially on a first read. I'm like not trying to be like, I'm there for vibes. I just want to read it. And then and that was definitely a no shit moment. But more importantly, there was my favorite quote in this chapter, of course, was which is the name of the chapter, Fortunes of the Universe. I'd spend the fortunes of the universe to protect you. I'd drain the seas dry, fell every tree. I would sacrifice the sun from the fucking sky and surrender the stars too, if I could. But those things aren't mine to give. All I have is my life. It isn't much, but I'd spend it and consider the price small if it meant keeping you safe. Like and then Kingfisher says that.
I love you. Okay. Okay.
But
are you sacrificing the power of the sun? Damned us all into like eternal darkness? No.
Yeah. If you're not,
if he's not doing it, I don't want
to hear about it. Yeah. Literally.
Oh,
so
God.
Good. Bring us into chapter 30, Michelle.
Chapter 30, Everlane finally fucking wakes up. She's doing something. Not much, but having a seizure, which is honestly awful, but something's happening with her. Everyone is in her room trying to restrain her. She has Telena in a chokehold, and Carrion and Danya had to pull her apart, and they're like trying to restrain her. And Telena is, I can't reach through to her. There's like a block in her mind. It's like, it's there. There's something happening to her, but I literally cannot access her. And Fisher's freaking out because this is his sister, and he feels very helpless because there's nothing anyone can do but just kind of watch her. Mm-hmm. And she's screaming. And it's like her brain or her spirit is somewhere else entirely. And this is actually Everlane's voice. At that time, Saeris does make sure to make the distinction. This is Everlane's voice. We don't know what's going on with her, but before, when Kingfisher's mother was across, it wasn't Everlane's voice at all. So we know this is Everlane experiencing something. Now, was her spirit is her spirit somehow being taken over and tortured in a way? Is she assuming memories of someone else at this time? We don't know what's happening. We just know that someone is blocking them from being able to access her. So some pretty serious magic is keeping Everlane where she is. We have no idea who. Do you have an idea of who you think might be the one doing this?
There wasn't anyone that was immediately coming to mind, personally. I think that there are readers who were bothered by the fact that she doesn't wake up in this book at all. But she is a vessel for Lady Adina at a certain point. And there's also parts of the reason that she's not waking up are going to be critical to book 3. So I think that there was likely, in my mind, from a writing standpoint, if I'm Callie Hart, she's probably thinking there's so much here with this, with Everlane and even Ren, because we don't see Ren very much, but there's so much in all of that there's all of this other stuff over here too that I have to get through. Right. So my thought is like the reason she doesn't wake up is because it's a critical turning point in book 3 that she's waiting to tell. And we're going to find out something that's probably some kind of bombshell about who has had her or what's going on in that whole situation. Could it just be that it's a sickness and that she's being held and there really isn't a key thing? Yeah, there could be, but it just doesn't seem likely.
Not likely with Callie Hart.
Callie. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the one person we haven't heard from at all from this book is Madra. And last episode we talked about how there's some theories that Madra is an alchemist and that power got taken from her, or the Quicksilver stopped bowing to her because she's so corrupt, that sort of thing. I wonder if Madra is the one having to deal with this, because think of Kingfisher physically was taken, right, and tortured. Now the triumvirate is no longer triumvirate because there's only 2 of them now. But to emotionally or spiritually take Everlane would mimic that sort of torture that they're used to
revenge. Doing. Pissed. Her brother's dead. I think we can't underestimate Valakon or Madra. They're both. No. We really just have learned. I don't think there are true villains. I think we see who we're getting closer to as far as villains at the end of this. But I do
I wonder
think
if
that
it's Kingfisher's
they're
dad.
definitely key
I wonder if
factors.
he's a true villain at this point,
I
because
don't
now,
know.
because at the end of the book, which we'll talk at the
Like that he
end,
turned.
it seemed very ominous that he's now bring me to my father. It just seemed, the tone of it wasn't like a, yay, daddy's here to help. It's
I don't know. Or we could argue behind enemy lines. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Behind enemy lines doing something.
Yeah. We'll speculate
We'll get more
more
into
when
that
we get to that.
very soon.
Yep.
Yeah.
So after the seizure ceases, a focus here is, why the fuck was Danya and Carrion the first two in the room? And Carrion's, I was in my room, and which is across the hall.
Oh, were you? Interesting.
And then Danya's, oh, I was just walking by.
It's the hallway. We're just there in
Ma'am.
the hallway.
Oh, just casually going by Carrion's room, which you now have a very invested interest in to fuck around with, which is fine. Get it, girl. But also Danya sucks.
No.
No. I don't know if we'll see Carrion having a mate, because I think it would take a lot, because he talked about how he couldn't even love Saeris in a romantic way, and he wanted to, because he was so devastated by a lover he lost.
This is why he needs one.
But I think it would take a lot, and I hope to God it's not Danya. They are very opposite personalities, but I really hope Danya doesn't deserve it. She's a fucking bitch sometimes.
Wouldn't get their, yeah, but Callie wouldn't do us like that. We would not get their first like hookup as an off-page situation if they were fated mates for Carrion. I just don't believe that. She loves Carrion too much to do that. I think we're gonna either get a spin-off book for Carrion, and we're gonna see his,
which she has
his fated mate,
she wants to do that.
Granted, or maybe we're gonna see something in book 3, because we don't have that love interest piece happening anymore now that Kingfisher and Saeris are together. I predict it's either going to be Renfis and Everlane, or we're going to see Carrion and we're going to meet someone that could be for Carrion.
Right. That's my thought. In this realm, fated mates is like not a common thing. It's actually a bad thing. That's why it's so ominous. It's your mates, but you're not fated in this realm. So I don't know if we'll get like a fated mate for anyone else. They're just mates.
That's I feel like if anyone was going to get one,
talking about
Carrion, the Diananthus heir. So if there's anyone who, I don't know, statistical likelihood, just I feel like if somebody's going to get one, it would be him.
Right.
But maybe not. Maybe I can totally be wrong here.
We'll see. So after all of this happens, they have to essentially as a team check on the rot, see if it's spreading, do all of their politically stuff as well. So Fisher decides to abandon the border because they're losing too many men. They can't do anything with the rot, which Danya hates. She has to listen because he's in charge. They also need Ishabal to help bring Everlane out of her state. So they're like, let's get the witch back. So the person that has to do that, of course, is Lorith, who, for whatever reason, which we don't entirely know, hates the witches in general, but hates her. And then Fisher, Carrie, and Saeris go back to Imontreath to research more. And I love this part because, you know, Carrion's, yeah, you guys are going to all do your important stuff, and I'm just going to sit here and be a useless lump. And Fisher's, shut up, you're going with us. And Saeris, because Saeris has been missing out on, like, how much they're, like, a bromance now. And she was about to tell Fisher into his mind, like, you should let Carrion come. But Fisher already decided. He already knew. He wants his buddy.
Yeah.
Even though they've been through too much. He literally had to, like, push his ass up a ledge and have it in his face. They faced near-death experience together. I think they're like besties now.
Scorpions.
Which is funny.
Yeah. They, like, go get scorpion tattoos after this.
And then Saeris and Carrion go to see Tal, but were interrupted by Zovina. And this is where we saw Saeris come into her physical power. This is where she's getting more into her political power as well. And Zovina is like really confrontational because she had more than just an enthrallment with Malcolm. There's romance there too, which honestly you feel for Tal at that point because he literally became a vampire for her. And Saeris confronts her on Foley not receiving the letters because she's heard multiple times, Foley got letters. Foley's, I didn't get no letters. Y'all left me. And she gets down to the bottom of it, and Zovina was the one that was keeping the letters from him, which bitch move. what are you gonna do? And Saeris makes her literally bow to on her knees.
Oh, yes, she
And
does.
Zovina hates it because she can't put up a fight. She literally has to bow down to this woman that she hates who killed like her lover. And then this very intense moment was interrupted with Tal coming out of his room naked with a big ass boner. Like, y'all are interrupting some fun I'm having in here.
Yeah,
That's
why
like
are
how
you
the
guys
chapter
like?
ends.
What's going on? How could you possibly? What do you need?
Can you please take this
Yeah,
elsewhere?
yeah. The name of the title of this chapter is called Leash. One other thing that's really important in this specific thing is that Tyrion asks Saeris, like, how do you know where to go to find him? You must know the castle so well. Like, how do you know where to go? And she's like, it's a leash. I'm like leashed to him because he created me. And he's, yeah, you can't sense Fisher the same way. And she's like, no. The connection I have with Fisher is like
Very
this calm
different.
and peaceful, like very different type of thing, which is very different than the feeling I feel with Tal, which is just a leash. That's exactly how she defines it. And the witch shut the door for me on every possibility of
Yeah.
a love triangle. It was done right here.
It was very
Done.
intentional
And we
to
knew,
be,
yeah, anyone who thought that it might be happening by chapter 30, you should have been like, yep, definitely not happening now. There's no way. Granted, yes, does he open the door naked? Sure he does. But she just literally got done saying that the connection that I feel to him is a leash. So that puts a
Right.
fork completely in the idea that there was going to be any kind of why choose love triangle. That was squashed. I was slightly devastated, but also that makes sense because it does make sense from a story
Makes
perspective.
sense.
It makes total sense
Yeah.
that this is true. I think that all of us wanting this to happen made no sense for the plot actually in real life.
No, it was
Like,
more
didn't.
of a personal. I want to see it.
It wasn't
Wanting
personal
that.
because how many of us wanted that? I don't think it wasn't just like me or
Right.
you. It was like a
No,
lot of
not
us were like in the camp. Oh
yeah, but
Okay.
it's personal to us as the reader. We wanted to see that just because it would have added a lot more.
For
It would have added a
funsies.
lot more drama. It would have been.
Yeah.
It would have been fun to read.
Yes.
But it doesn't make sense in terms of the fated mates aspect of it.
No.
For the storyline.
I mean, literal lawn of the gods talking about how they're mated. Okay?
Right.
Like, you can't say that in book 1 and then be like, oh, she's a vampire now she loves this other dude. That just doesn't, it just undoes everything she just said. Yeah. Okay, Michelle, for fun. Yeah.
Doesn't have to be serious.
You know, when in just get a sticker.
Exactly.
When in Amantrea.
So lead us into chapter 31, Danny.
All right. So chapter 31, we are back to Fisher's POV because we're rushing to go get Tal and we're in Saeris' point of view. And that's another thing I loved about this book is the dual narration from Fisher and Saeris. And from a listening perspective, we have 2 narrators on the audiobook and that was great too. And they're fantastic. So really enjoyed that. Chapter 31, which is titled Vapor and Smoke. It's very important that we're titling that, but also there's some very key things that we find out about Foley in this chapter and also maybe about the whole universe that we're in. So let's get into it. Fisher starts the chapter off by singing to Onyx. We love a dog dad. That's the best.
Dog dad.
He has a moment where he's walking through Amantreath, and again, we have multiple points of view. So we have Fisher bouncing back and forth between Saeris and Fisher. This audiobook is incredible, by the way, for those who didn't do immersive audio and read it at the same time. If you haven't done that, I recommend before book 3 to do the audio. Yeah, literally. It's so good. Multiple voices, so you're not getting a female voice doing a man's voice, etc. You have 2 different audio narrators and they're both incredible. I digress.
Honestly, Callie Hart has spoiled audiobooks for me. And not just Callie Hart, but any author who chooses to have the dual point of view, because I've listened to some phenomenal books, but it's narrated by either a man or a woman doing all the voices. I'm just like, yeah, it's not as good. Well. No, it doesn't. Even if the story is phenomenal.
Probably budget related.
For sure. You're hiring
Podium
2 people instead of 1.
Podium, yeah, and Podium Entertainment is the one who, yeah. So I think there's definitely some more money there. So
right.
I digress. Go listen to the audiobook. You should do it. Back to Fisher's point of view. Kingfisher singing to Onyx, and he's mentioning to himself, I'm singing to the fucking dog, and he is. Which doesn't say the fucking dog, but he is. He's singing to the dog. And so he's a dog dad now. He's fully embraced it. He loves himself some Onyx and is at their little besties. Loves him too because he brings him a pine cone as thanks, and it's so sweet. Very good moment.
His little offering.
Fisher, yeah. And Fisher finally is going to seek out Foley. I've been waiting for this moment for a little bit now because Foley has just been, he believed Lorith, but like Foley needs to hear from Fisher himself. So we finally have this moment in chapter 31 where Foley and Fisher meet in the library and they have the conversation about how Saeris and Fisher are truly fated mates and they have this bond. They love each other. Fisher wants Foley to come back to college and he doesn't care that he's a vampire because look at his restraint. And he talks about that. But more importantly, we find out that Foley is actually a lord's son, and had Bellicon not murdered the true king, he would have been second in line only to Carrion, basically. So Foley is pretty high ranking. And as we already know, Foley can be somebody who would be an extremely helpful advisor to Saeris because of everything he knows from this library and everything he's read over the time that he spent there as alchemy. And also just in line, he just knows a lot in general from his history and him being a lord. So this is information that we find out that King Rorik was the true king before. His father was Warwick Briarstone, and so Foley would be Foley Briarstone. And he was the second most powerful male in Uvelia, would have been second in line. So interesting here. One thing that gets mentioned in like a paragraph and a half, so maybe 6 sentences total, is this orrery. Okay? And if you don't know what an orrery is, you do. You just didn't know it was called an orrery like myself. And it is basically this, how do I put it? It's like the solar system, but like the solar system display where the sun is in the middle, like
spinning,
all the planets move.
Yeah.
Yeah, it like moves around and it can be built. And so there's more intricate ones. And the building of them is important because it's like a true, this is how far equal distance this is from this planet, from the sun. And it matters because you need to have the measurements correct to verify the accuracy of the actual display. So one thing that was interesting was he's talking about the library. Kingfisher's talking in about the library, and he was fascinated as a kid by orreries, and he thought it was really cool. And then he sees this one in this library in Amontreath, and he's, wow, this is a really cool orrery. And he makes this comment that's 2 sentences long, and it says, this orrery was very different from the one in my father's study. The alignment and the number of planets was different. It was beautiful to me. And the word number is italicized. None of the other words are. You could all say this means nothing. Sure. I don't believe it. I think this orrery thing is really relevant. I think there's something we're going to find about the planets, about this entire universe, this cosmos, whatever you want to call it. We're going to find out more in book 3. I think that there was a setup of this in book 1 with Quicksilver because we can go to other worlds and travel through other worlds with the Quicksilver. Yeah. I think this is something else that ties to this. Maybe this is an alchemist's orrery. How do we know whose this was? The idea that it was Malcolm's seems unlikely to me. I'm just wondering how much more there is to this. And I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I highlighted it. What were your thoughts?
And remember, for whatever reason, Kingfisher's mom trusted Malcolm, or at least Malcolm's library, enough to be the host of like her biggest life secret. The literal reason why she is alive is to prophesy the destination of the universe is going to be. And tied her magic to his library. So I think there's a lot more here. Part of me, I'm like, oh, okay. There's just, think of like how long ago Kingfisher would have seen that orrery compared to like now. Or even like how long in time from when he saw the orrery versus when the Quicksilver pool stopped. There could have been a lot more travel there. And I think a lot of it is to emphasize how vast the world is But I think it's really important that you emphasize that she highlighted number. So maybe we didn't get a specific number. It probably shows we're going to go to different areas in book 3. So that's what I thought. Now that you brought it up, I'm thinking about it. When I first read it, I'm like, cool. The world's big. That's fine. It's grown since you were a kid. Probably. There's magic and shit. Makes sense. So yeah, that was just
Do you think,
when
though,
I first read it.
Yeah, but do we think when they go through the Brimstone at the end of the book, and we can speculate about this a little bit more, are they on the same planet?
I don't think so. I think because what we understand of like worlds is very like, so we have Earth, right? And Earth has like so many components or countries, and it's very vast to explore. But then when I honestly picture things in like Callie Hart series, I picture more of Star Wars, like Zovarin's Tatooine. But it's like literally this like really tiny desert planet, and that's it. That's all that's on it. Is
Yeah,
this
but
tiny
it
desert.
has 2 suns. We know that it's
Exactly.
not the same planet that they're on for Revelia. It can't.
Exactly. So I think he's going to, they went to a different planet ultimately here. And maybe the comparison in the two is like the difference in where they are. But we don't know what the first Ori looked like at all. But yeah, I think they're going to different planets. Maybe even different like universes entirely.
Perhaps. Zovarin may have to be, given that it has 2 suns.
It could be a
solar
multiverse
system for it,
where they're going into like completely different time space continuums.
Hold on. Maybe. We'll have to see.
Think about
anyway, before
if you think about the tree. No, think about it. If you think about the tree, there are many different universes that are happening all simultaneously. So I feel like you're hopping from leaf to leaf, ultimately with the Quicksilver. If you want to give the visual of the tree, I think it's more of like you're going from
Saeris leaves.
Yeah,
interesting.
So I think that's because if you're using the Quicksilver as the pool, the trunk is what holds it all together, and you're hopping from leaf to leaf, which isn't different planets, it's different universes. Because Zorath says these are all like tiny universes with billions of people, whatever. And like, oh, a leaf died. Billions, gone.
Interesting.
So that's what I think is what's happening.
All right.
I could be wrong.
I think you're onto something, and we will find out a whole lot more in book 3. Yeah. Very curious to see where that goes. I think we have to finish talking about chapter 31. And so the conversation with Foley and Fisher, he basically talks about how he's never fed on a human or a Fae. And he trusts Foley now, and he gives him Joshin. He's like, here, have Joshin. You can have him. And
so many questions.
This is a god. He's like, yeah, one of the old gods. You know who it is. It's Joshin. He's like, the Joshin? That guy? That guy? He's in this box. Yep, he's in the box. I made a bargain with him. You bargained with Joshin, and he's in the box. So here you go. Foley's the fuck. So poor Foley. He's gonna go to college now, and now he gets to watch over Joshin in this little box.
Keeper of Joshin.
Yeah. Poor Fisher is just, I'm done with this thing. But also poor Foley, because, hey, Foley, I haven't seen you in how long? Oh, cool. I need you to come and help out my fated mate. And also, can you watch over this miniature demon? Thank you. Here you go.
Aye, Captain.
So Foley's like, all right, cool. I'll do it.
Just tell me the secret. I feel like he's like the keeper of secrets. That's like his thing.
Sure, yeah.
Littlefinger from Game of Thrones.
But a good way, like not a betrayer. Prayer, Littlefinger. Which, if you haven't watched Game of Thrones by now, again, it's too late for you. We're sorry, not too sorry, because it's been out for a very long time. And you should go, by the way, if you haven't watched it. So go do that.
Chapter 32, we go back to Tal, and he's having a very fun time with 7 Fae females. And Saeris is very much like blushing, like, I don't want to look at it. And I feel like him being like fully erect is like making it worse because you want to look, but you don't want to look. Ian has no shame. And he's like, how do I get invited to one of these? And Tal, join us. Like meeting Carrion, because Carrion's usually the one like, I'm going to stir some shit up. I'm going to be a shameless flirt. And Tal matches his energy. And Carrion's, this seems like a big ask for me. I've never 7. That's a lot. And then
just kidding. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. And then we find out here also that Carrion, he doesn't discriminate. He chooses his lovers how he sees fit. And Tal very much shuts that down as well. I don't do that. And Carrion's like, I could change you. And Tal's like, I'll let you know. He's like, no, you would have already thought about it if you actually wanted to. So he gets like disappointed from that. And it just shows like
because
how
Tal's like
he's
not interested in him. And he's like, look at me. What do you mean?
Think about Carrion's been a Fae in a shitty human realm. So he's been the most gorgeous man around. And he's used to like people flocking to him. And really, he's able to get his way and tells, yeah, no. Like literally all of us are gorgeous. You're just not. You're just, I don't care.
You're just okay.
You're just okay. You're the heir to the throne, but you're just okay. He's like, damn it. I'm just going to go run back to my little plants. And we see a lot more of Carrion, like, not wanting to come to, like, himself in the Dianthus line. And I feel like if we had a Carrion point of view at these parts, I would have been upset with him as I was as Saeris, because Saeris is fighting her. I don't want to be queen, but I have to be. And Carrion's very much doing the very same thing. It wasn't as annoying just because we weren't getting his perspective. But I'm sure it would have been really fucking annoying. He would have been tending to his plants. Oh. I don't want to be king. I just want to play with my plants. And we learn more about the Nullblades. Tal doesn't like them. He wants essentially Saeris to throw it off the highest cliff possible and just never just be rid of it. And Saeris is like, you know what? That's actually a very good idea. I'm going to do that the first chance I get, because this is not, don't want to do with that.
Yeah.
And Tal focuses on the even light ball, which is coming up. And Saeris has been like piecing out on her queenly duties. And you literally need to be there. You need to be present. You need to get your fucking dress fitted and stop bitching about it. And you need to pick a new Lord of Midnight, because that's what you have to do. You came into this role. Did you want it? Not really, but this is what we got here. And Saeris is immediately, I just want to go run away from my responsibilities again, because I don't want to. And she goes to the library, and the Stargazers end up attacking her. And Saeris just, what is going on? And they just stop. And she opens one of the Stargazers and realizes there's writing about alchemists on each bird. And they're pages of a book. And then she's, I need to get all of them. And she collects all of them. And the book has a dedication. It says, for you, God's blessed. Thank you for loving my boy, E. So we know this is hers specifically. When the Stargazers attacked her, she essentially got a paper cut on her cheek. And the blood was to like verify that's her. Which I'm thinking, now that's like blood magic, right? Her identity. But Kingfisher's mom wouldn't have had her blood. Some sort of blood magic is going on here. And Adina, essentially, her first big ask is to keep the book secret from Kingfisher. And I know this is going to be hard, but you need to keep it secret from him. And Sarah says, no, I'm not going to do that. So she tells Kingfisher, immediately. It's like when you're at work, you're like, this is between us. And you're like, yes, this is between us. And then you go tell like your work bestie, like, this is what's going on. And he very much respects, like, this is a book for him. And you feel pretty sad for him, because he greatly loved his mother, and his time with his mother was cut short. And now Saeris is getting pieces of her that he'll never get. But he respects that there's a bigger picture here. And he loves his mom enough, and he loves Saeris enough to understand that boundary, that this isn't for him. But she ended up ended up being a test, which we know in chapter 33, that is just a test.
And before we get to chapter 33, two things I want to highlight from 32 and 31 is that Tal in 32 is really focused on, we've got to go to this ball. And you think it's because of the duty that Saeris has, and she finally needs to step into her own and do some shit. And part of that is there, but it's also because he has his own hidden agenda. So we get a little foreshadowing here. And then we also have foreshadowing in 32 with Foley, talking with understanding how powerful Foley would be as an advisor to Saeris. We understand that in the next following chapter that she definitely, it's highlighted again, you need to pick somebody, right? And so lines it up to where we know who's going to be picked next, but we really still didn't. I didn't put it together reading it, but looking back, Callie definitely put that together on purpose to where it was lined up, and you can get that together. Moving into chapter 33, titled No Regrets, it's Kingfisher's point of view, and he's reading the letter that she gives the book to Kingfisher, and it's a test, like you said. And there's even a quote from Adina that says, the bond that binds you both will be the strongest, like of all the different versions she sees, if she places this book into your hands. And I wish I could explain more. So he just knows that the line of which, however many multitudes, variations of how they could meet would go, the strongest one that could have happened went that way. And of course, the title of the chapter is No Regrets. And his mother, who's trapped somewhere for basically until this gets resolved, she says specifically that she has no regrets of what happened to her and that she loves him and that she's proud of him. And I feel like it's this. And then she says at the end of the last line before she says, your mother, Adina, she says, now give her back the book. So it was definitely like a test of she loved me this much that she gave me the book. And Fisher, the chapter ends. That's it. That's all of chapter 33. I loved that. I thought it was great. Fisher needed that closure, and he needed that. He's been desperate for that level of connection to his mom, and I was so happy to read chapter 33 that he actually got that, and that there was no gray. It wasn't a question of if she loved him. There wasn't a question of if she had regrets. There wasn't a question of her intention with this. There was no gray. And I actually really liked how definitive each period was of those sentences and called out, like they were in a row. So it was even more like overstated versus it being in a paragraph laid out. No, like all down a line. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was very powerful. That leads into chapter 34. So Saeris wants to escape her responsibilities once again because part of it is like she doesn't want to be queen. Obviously, we know that. But other part of it is like her mind is like racing in terms of trying to get as much information from this journal as possible. So her focus is elsewhere, which is she honestly thinks the ball is something silly, not that some big shit's going to happen in it. And the state of the universe obviously is more important. Here are the answers. So my brain is going to focus on that. And also, it's just she's such an introvert that the thought of a party literally makes her want skin crawl, which fair. If you're an introvert, you understand the feeling. And they're doing a lot in this chapter is a lot of trying to figure out things, trying to figure out the rot, trying to figure out the null blade. And that's what most of it is. And they go back to college. Carrion again refuses to acknowledge himself as heir. And as he's talking to Archer. And Archer is the fire sprite. And
it's the best.
Archer is the best. And he tells Carrion that your kingdom knows you and his family. And they bow to you and they acknowledge you as heir, even though you haven't been here, because your family was good. So you in turn are good. And this is a big moment. I wish I could have gotten Carrion's POV in this and like hearing this from Archer, because he's lived in two worlds at this point in time and neither are his, or neither have felt like they're his. And this is just validating to Carrion. This is your world. This is your realm. We are your people. Get over yourself and acknowledge it already. And Archer told Saeris of Adina and how she used to love coming to the forge. And I love this because obviously she loved coming to the forge because of Saeris, and she was she was seeing Saeris's future and Kingfisher's future. So after this conversation about Adina, her favorite flowers were actually here in the forge, so let me go outside and pick some for you, because these were her favorite flower. And all of a sudden he's screaming for help, and you're like, oh shit, a feeder has Archer, and the scary feeders, not the rot feeders, not the normal feeders now. And he's trying to like take him away, like literally grab him and take him up the wall that they have. And Saeris throws the null blade at the infected feeder because it dropped. And it like absorbed the power of the blade and made him stronger, which Saeris hasn't seen the absorption of this. Right. We've seen before that the feeders like absorb any sort of magic. So it's just interesting. It also absorbed the null blade as well. So obviously the creator of the null blade wasn't to fend off the feeders. It was to destroy the Fae or whoever a magic wielding person there is. So Saeris and Carrion fight off the feeder and rescue Archer. However, the feeder tears open Archer's neck and is like spewing brimstone And that is the only thing that kills the fear, the brimstone that is coming out of Archer. So now you're like, great, we have an answer. We have a cure for the rot. But obviously, we have an answer. Do we have the resources? We're going to find out in the next chapter why that we can't just, hey, Brimstone, fix it all.
Yeah. So chapter 35, Kingfisher tells us his point of view, but he tells them he's waiting, and Lorith is, oh, by the way, it's called Brimstone. So this is where we first get the title of the book identified. We understand what's going on here with the title of the book and how Quicksilver was the key element and thing that we talked about most in book 1. Book 2, we find out that Brimstone is the thing that's going to get rid of the rot, and that we know from the prequel chapters that Brimstone comes out of a dragon's mouth. And now we also know that fire sprites are made out of brimstone. But problem is, fire sprites actually use every drop that exists of brimstone in Uvelia. And the only way to get it is to kill them because it doesn't regenerate. So once they lose it, they have to share it amongst themselves if one of them's injured. So for our friend Archer to be healed, his other fire sprites in the house basically have to be willing to give up some of their literal life force to save Archer. And this isn't like blood where your body's going to regenerate more of it. It's like you don't get it back. Once it's used, that's it. So we've got a problem. We have our first like really big issue that we have something that can solve something and no way to do. So this is a good catalyst that leads us through the rest of this story, because now we know that we need to figure out how we're going to get more brimstone. And the way I immediately was like, Callie told us to read the prequel chapters. She told us to read The Gate, and this is exactly why. So then I was like, dragons. I don't know how we're getting there. We're fucking getting some dragons for sure in this book. Because how else can we get this brimstone? And I immediately put that together. I don't know if you did, Michelle, while you were reading, but I thought of that like right away. Yeah, I was like, okay, we're getting some fucking dragons here.
We even talked about that beforehand. That was one of the biggest things that you were theorizing the entire time, that we're getting some dragons, just because we did read Adjunct Gate way before Brimstone came out. In the map, the dragons were more detailed as well. We definitely theorized or talked a lot about that, and now we're gonna fucking get some.
Yeah, and so I also think too that it's worth mentioning, previous episode we identified a theory we did not get. This episode we got a theory
one.
right. So that feels good. We got one, which was pretty obvious, but that's okay. We got one. We know we're getting more dragons. We didn't understand the true super relevance of the dragons, but we got one, so we'll take it. All right. It does feel good to get one. Do I need to get one?
Yeah.
No. But does it feel good to get one? Yes, it does.
Of course.
So Saeris and Kingfisher end up going up to the roof to get a few moments of quiet and some peace. There's a conversation that they have about Kingfisher's had his own magic, and that Kingfisher's father commanded the shadows. We don't realize at the time, and it's in the chapter titled Brimstone, and the way I did not piece together this foreshadowing at all. So we didn't got the foreshadowing that with Brimstone being relevant and being tied to dragons and all that, but I didn't piece Kingfisher's dad to dragons, even though she's saying it in this chapter too. He's also like, the title is it's titled Brimstone. I'm telling you that Kingfisher's dad has the shadows. I have a lot of information here.
Very intentional.
And that all his stories he knows of his father came from Archer. So we assume that's because Archer was in the household. We don't know if that's because Archer knew his dad at some other point historically. We don't know what's all involved in that. Right. And then Fisher takes Saeris over to Huntsman's cottage, which we know from before. They shared their dream in the cottage, and they have their moment there. There's so much in this chapter that it just is. There's so much information that I feel like you can't. It's like Callie said, she's like giving you so much stuff, and you can't even wrap your mind around everything that's there.
Right.
And it's just,
yeah. No, there's for sure a lot, because there's a lot of layering that Callie does. So this is what's happening in the present. This is what has happened in the past. This is what you should look for in the future. And she does that with most of the chapters very intentionally in the layering of backstory and what's going on in the real world, and a lot of distraction in terms of, I'm not going to tell you exactly what's happening, but you need to read through every single layer that I have for you. Kind of like a cake.
There's one other thing that's interesting, because remember, we found out a lot in Quicksilver too about all these different creatures. They were mentioned quite a bit more, I feel like, in book 1 with Pub, like right at the beginning-ish of the book, and like later you hear about all the different creatures. But then there's a basilisk mentioned in chapter 35. It's super brief. He's like, oh yeah, the basilisk lives out there. I think my father lost a toe to one or whatever. And she's like, it's called a graven in this series, but he says it's essentially a basilisk. And he's, yeah, he lives in a little wooden cottage out there, and he's like pointing. And it basically, it makes tinctures and salves. A long time ago, people used to trade with the graven for things that would end hexes. Okay? I highlighted this because I'm like, who is under a hex right now?
Oh,
Everlane.
Yeah, Everlane.
And I'm like, hello, we have a basilisk who makes salves out here. Which sounds totally insane. But I'm like, he's out here in the cottage. We used to barter with them. And I'm like, okay, isn't your sister under one of these? I feel like, I don't know.
Maybe maybe he'll actually
maybe the Graven is going to be our, I don't know. I don't know if the Graven's going to be our salvation. We just don't ever hear about the Graven again after this, but I just, again, feel like that's just not Callie.
It's like it's not a random nugget of information. It's an intentional placement of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I honestly didn't think about it because I was like looking at just. Okay,
well, you're not supposed to. It's so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fast.
And honestly.
And he does it like so quickly. And he's just like, this was the old way. And you don't like. And I highlighted, I'm like, we've got a girl in a major hex situation here.
We got to figure this out.
We have somebody who is not waking up.
Graven. Yeah.
So I don't know if we're going to see the Graven help Everlane, but what's the theory for book 3? So we're going to have to like start plotting our theories now. We got to get like our list going. We've got
2.
A title theory. We've got 3. We've got a couple different ones. Yeah, we have some theories on where we think things are going. We've got some matchmaking ideas that we think could happen. Mm-hmm. Now I think the Graven could be a key factor in who saves Everlane.
Okay.
I don't know.
What are we bartering?
I don't know yet. I don't know. But I just didn't think that it was thrown for no reason. I feel like there was
good catch.
A reason told us that. So anyway.
Okay. All right. Then that leads us into our last chapter for this episode, which is chapter 36. And Hayden wakes up, unlike Everlane. He actually wakes up. And he is awful to Saeris. All Saeris has done for him. And because Madra has been basically turning Saeris into a martyr, a Zolvaran patriot, which if you're a Zolvaran patriot, that means you're against the people ultimately and everyone hates her. And Hayden starts to believe her. And mind you, Madra's just been making some posters, and this is why Kingfisher got pissed before. It's like, you're going to believe someone who literally gives you water rations that's dirty and makes some posters? Okay. And Saeris, he believes that Saeris has just been getting extra food rations and getting a lot of water because she actually does work for Madra. And the audacity of this little spoiled brat they had a shitty life, but he didn't have any responsibilities. He could screw up. Saeris didn't have that option because his life and her life depended on her getting food, her getting water, her getting this extra stuff so they weren't literally dying, even though they didn't have a home or anything. And
the disappointment.
Yeah. And Saeris just punches him in the face because how fucking dare him. And
also, and the way both of us have brothers, I think makes this hit different because the level of betrayal is just, how did you not trust me as your sister? What is going on? Or sibling. It doesn't, gender's irrelevant, but it's like, what the fuck, man? What the
After
fuck?
all I did for you. Yeah, how fucking dare
Literally.
you? And all Saeris does, she's what the fuck, and doesn't really acknowledge his argument so much. It just punches him in the face and it's like, I'm not fucking dealing with you anymore. Because this is,
like, I'm done.
I'm not doing this. I
the eye roll
literally just rescued you. But no. Okay. And then they were interrupted because the Brimstone rune was on fire on her hand.
Mhm.
So she was freaking out because it was her. It was like burning. And she immediately goes to Adina's book to read. And she has to, this is where we get the rules of the journal. She can't skip ahead. So she writes, I'm breaking all the laws of the universe with this gambit. But for it to work, you cannot skip ahead in this book. So there has to be a duality of trust here. Adina obviously trusts Saeris. And Saeris has to trust Adina that her word is gold and she needs the information at a very precise moment. And she can't get the information too soon or it'll impact the decisions she makes later on. So it's very... space-time continuum is very delicate and it's like time travel and all that stuff. And if even one of her moves is off based on what Adina has foreseen in the future, then everything's ruined. So she has to be very precise in that, and and Saeris has to have some self-restraint because obviously she wants to figure out what's wrong with her and how to fix like all the runes and everything, but she can't do that. And then we get, at the end of this chapter, we get some really awful news that Renfis is missing because Renfis has been gone because his job was to go to the line and to get a read on the rot. Then he's supposed to go to other areas and tell them about the rot and try to get them out of there as much as possible or try to have help. And so he's just been gone this entire time. And we're like, oh yeah, it's fine. Renfis is gone. And the fact I read this, I'm like, no, he's gone. He can't be gone. Yeah. And the entire time I'm like, fucking Bellicon has him. Like he has to have him. That's the only reason. So we just get that bomb right there.
Of course. And like Ren, we haven't heard from him in so long and we forget about him. I didn't like forget him. He was like out doing Fisher's work and stuff.
But you're just off doing some stuff. It's fine.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever fine in Avelia.
Also, Adina just drops some like really key stuff here. It's like a lot of alchemists don't accept the second rune and they don't complete it because it's so powerful that they either don't survive it or they're not willing to give up the cost. And you will read things that will prevent you from facing the challenges in front of you for fear of the ones ahead. The way that this book sets us up where we don't get the whole book, meaning Adina's book, not Brimstone, but Adina's book within the book. Callie only gives us specific quotes on purpose. She only gives us sections of the book that Saeris is willing to give us so that we get to see. I'm very curious in book 3 how that's all going to lay out, especially because we have Kingfisher POV chapters. So Saeris is in a room with him, but we don't get to see what she's thinking. And I think that's going to be a really interesting way that this is all going to lay out of how this is all set up. Because she doesn't want to spoil the story for herself because she can't read ahead. And the other part is with the Brimstone rune, she's going to have to accept something and change herself physically again with this rune. So there's a lot to it. But what's crazy to me is that Kingfisher's mom writes about the even light ball in the book. She knows about it and she's writing about it. It's like, you don't realize the level of detail, at least I didn't really piece it together, how much she actually knew about what was about to go down until now. Like, she knows that Saeris has to go to this ball. She knows that this is going to... She sees the whole, like, of all these different myriad of paths. She sees all these different ways of, here's how you're going to handle an appointment awaits for your even light ball. And so it was so much. And I'm so curious to see, like, how this all goes down eventually.
I think she has the worst power in the world. That would be the biggest headache. Like, you can see all these different paths of the future at a time, and one thing changes, and it changes the entire... she's literally seeing the future step by step as someone's living their life before they've lived it, and multiple different levels of their life. That'd be the worst thing ever. I don't want to know the future. I don't want to know other people's future.
And she her own.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
She knows
Accepting I'm going to die all of it. Awfully, but I need to do all this in time.
And I have to. And then also my soul is just going to hang out for over 1,000 years. Hang out. Waiting. Just crazy.
The love of a mother.
Crazy. Yeah. Exactly. And that was a huge part of this book, which I loved reading, of course. That wraps up our chapter coverage, which brings us to our Down the Rabbit Hole segment.
Do it.
So we talked a little about it in the middle of the episode. We talked about how there has been a lot of reviews and book talking and things in Goodreads, etc., that said that this book had too much spice or needless spice that didn't drive plot and that they didn't like it. Thoughts and feelings?
What's too much spice? Why is that such a thing?
Yeah.
Why are we complaining? And the only books that I'm like, this is too much, is if it's every single chapter or every other chapter. When chapters are dedicated that I can count on more than just my fingers, one hand fingers, then that's too much spice. I personally think if there's 5 chapters of it and like a 60 to 70 chapter book, I think the percentage ratio, I'm happy with it because there's 5 chapters out of 70 that there's a ton of plot going on there. I think, and I mentioned this earlier, people are mad that it's a healthy relationship. People love reading about toxic things because we read about toxic things, so we don't do toxic things. That's why we read.
So let me ask you this. If it wasn't Saeris and Fisher, if it had been Saeris and Tal or some other variation, do we think anyone would have said that? Because I don't.
Yeah. No, I think people would have complained because they would have been like, that doesn't go with the plot. I think either way,
no matter what,
complain about something. Fair. So I don't think there would have been an ideally perfect way to write the spice to please everyone. And you're not going to please anyone anyways. But what people really love, and which we know from book talk, is the yearning. The yearning is what drives women crazy, or whoever's reading these books crazy, because it can be men as well. And there's no more of that. Yearning's gone. It's because he has her, she has him. There's nothing in between. And since it's just their point of view chapters, we're not getting other sex. Which, if we had another person's point of view, then maybe they would have been like, okay, at least there's something toxic here, or the yearning, or that sort of thing. But because we're not getting that, we're getting a very healthy relationship. And there's a lot of plot going on when they interact too. But since we're getting a very healthy relationship, a fated relationship, think about it with ACOTAR. Once Rhysand and Feyre got together, oh, who? What? Okay, let's go on to another character, and let's have their yearning and their toxic relationship. And then in ACOTAR 6, it's going to be another character with his own yearning and that sort. So it's because that's what they want to read, because a lot of women who are reading these books are women in marriages. Healthy, stagnant, maybe not stagnant in like a negative way. I don't mean that in a negative way. You're in a healthy, stable relationship. So you read about these books because it makes you feel something different than what you have.
Someone who hasn't found their person yet, maybe.
Yeah. So I think people just want to read about toxic shit. And that's okay. I love reading about toxic men. So that's a huge deal.
We read about it so we don't live it in real life.
Exactly. I don't want a toxic man. I don't want to come home and questioning what he's doing, where he's going. I want to know that when I come home, or when he comes home, he's not going to smell like someone else, or I'm not going to question on whether he's out with someone else. I want to know on Friday nights, he's just going to be on the computer with his friends playing D&D. So I want the stability. That's why we read about it. So that's my take. Okay. I think we just like toxicity. So what is your thought?
I would agree. I think it was wild to me, out of all the things that people were like frustrated by, supposedly, by this book, or just to find something. Oh, there was too much spice. I was like, you know what? Okay.
That is an invalid complaint in my book.
I'm like, and especially from Callie, who doesn't for the sake of spice. I was just like, yeah, okay. Do you know what genre we're reading? Are we sure that we know this is dark romantasy? Because I'm just like wondering if you knew that.
And I think because we're used to because this is a trilogy, so relationships happen a little bit faster than I'm going to use ACOTAR as a comparison. There are 5 books out right now, and 4 of them were heavily focused on Feyre and Rhysand. So you had multiple books of that yearning, right?
Yeah.
Here we're getting 1 book and that's it. So I think people want more of it.
Yeah. Okay. Whether it's fair or not, I just don't think it's fair to say that this book had too much spice that wasn't plot driven. I would disagree with
I agree.
that. That's my thoughts. But I know you're just not going to please everyone no matter what you do. So
Nope.
see, if she had 3 or 4 less, who knows? People would have found something else to complain about. Wouldn't have mattered. I agree. All right, let's move on to our last
Mystery
segment before
Q&A.
I wrap up. Mystery Q&A. All right.
All
So
right.
my question for you, given that I had a chemical peel, is what type of treatment, if any, would you either highly recommend to everyone to go get one, or B, I would never go do this again to myself from like a spa?
So I honestly wish I would do more treat yourself spa time. I don't really do that very often.
You need more. That's
I
what I'm
need
hearing.
more. Yeah, I
Okay.
need more. But what I've had done and what was surprisingly like a very great experience was like a sugar scrub, like a full body sugar scrub. And it's like a massage, but they're using like a scrub on you, so all the dead skin goes off, and it just your body feels so new afterwards. And they really just get in there and get all the dead skin off. And you could obviously scrub yourself. It's more relaxing when you're in a dark room and someone else is doing it to you for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was probably one of my more not basic spa treatments. Everyone get a pedicure, get a manicure, take care of yourself in that sort of way. But yeah, I really enjoyed the sugar scrub. What about you?
I'm thinking that we need to have the book club after dark spa day. That's what I'm hearing. That's like
Honestly,
hearing.
I wouldn't mind that. Being postpartum, not everything need some girl
Yeah,
time.
girl time. Yeah, let's do it. Stone massage.
Oh,
If you can do like an upgrade for it, or you can add it to your package thing or whatever it is that you're getting done, sounds like it's not it sounds like it's okay, but I really like that. You have to be okay with the temperature and stuff like that. Obviously, it's not for everybody, but I really enjoyed the hot stone massage. So I guess on the same level. And honestly, the chemical peel, this is the first one I've had done probably in a really long time. And so far, it's for the treatment of like hyperpigmentation and like acne scarring, which are 2 things that I wanted to work on. So it was recommended. And the treatment itself, it burned, as you would imagine. And then there's some little bit of downtime for recovery. But overall, it's been fine. I've enjoyed the results so far, but I'll keep you posted on how it all goes.
yeah,
But
I've never.
my thought would be
had
hot
one.
stone. Get the hot stone massage.
Okay.
Do it.
All right, awesome.
I'll report back
All right.
on my chemical peel findings.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. I've never had one. I've never really had a friend or someone I know had one. So report back for sure.
I will.
I have some scarring up here I was in a car accident when I was 4, 5, pre-K. And the airbag blew up in my face. And since then I've had a lot of scarring on my face. Yeah.
Also, how you know you're old is because you were sitting up front when that happened, and nowadays you can't.
Yeah, I actually wasn't supposed to be. It was my brother had a soccer game, and it was like me and my mom were in the car, and I was watching the soccer, or it was a soccer practice. I was watching from the car for whatever reason. We were just in the car, and then my brother and his friend just hopped in the back seat since we didn't think anything of it. I was already sitting there. We were just watching soccer, and literally, ran into a pole. But yeah, that in the 90s, that would have been late 90s. As long as you weren't 1, it was just.
It wasn't as big of a deal as it is today.
Yeah, for sure.
All the car seat
Not
stuff.
as many. There was a lot of things in the 90s
probably
that
for
weren't
that
a big
reason.
of a deal. Yeah. Okay, so my question to you is, what is a time that you have had to either face a fear of yours or overcome it, and maybe it could have turned out positively or negatively?
Oh God, there have been a lot of times that has happened. I think one of my favorite quotes in general is, there's 2, but one that sticks out to me that like I wanted to mention and related to this is, let them tell you no, which sounds like you're giving someone else power, but really what it means is go for the thing. And if it doesn't work out and someone else tells you no, that's fine, but don't let it be you that tells yourself no before something is even tried.
Yeah.
So mentally thinking to yourself, like, I'm going to go for this really challenging thing. So a good example, it's actually funny because there's a reel about just like going for something that feels uncomfortable. And I would say fear is like probably the wrong words, but was I scared to start book club after dark? Yeah. And I think it's
Yeah.
nerve-wracking in general to run the show, given that we have careers and families. And so I don't know if that answers your question in full, but I think another short answer would be like my intrusive thoughts have fears in them literally every day, like as a mom.
Oh, yeah.
And just in life. I think they've
It's
just
awful.
like, it's become so much worse as a mom because you think like 3 to 8 to 17 steps ahead of like, is this action going to have like all these like ridiculously like things that just aren't going to happen. You know, your brain just goes a mile a minute of thinking like all these horrific things that you're absolutely probably doing wrong. So, I mean, that's fear-based too.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway.
Right. And that's why mom
about you?
burnout is a thing, right?
Oh, God.
Intrusive thoughts over everything.
Well, and they
like,
call it the
literally.
mental load. Yeah, the mom's mental load.
Mhm.
Totally a thing. All right. So, yeah,
Right.
kicking it back to you. Thoughts, feelings on fears. Go ahead.
So you went really deep, and here I am like, there's one time I really had to face a big spider. And if you know me, I hate spiders. No, this is a big thing for me, though.
You
This
talked
was when I
about your
was a kid.
arachnophobia once. We did talk about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, but me facing it, it was a
Oh,
core memory of why I will never fucking touch a spider. So in Florida, we have these big ass
right.
huntsman spiders. They're like bigger than your hand. And my father knows I have a fear of spiders. I can't stand them. So there was one in our house, and he thought it would have been a great idea to teach a life lesson with one like right in the hallway by my bedroom.
Oh, God.
And he's like, it was me, him, and my brother. And we're all like in this hallway. And I'm like, Dad, get it. He's like, no, you need to face your fears and you need to get it. I'm like,
Oh, fuck.
and I've recounted this with my brother because my brother's like, he could have just asked me. I would have been fine. I'm like, I know, but this was a life lesson moment. And I went to go hit it with like a shoe because this thing's massive and it gets away.
Of course.
And it goes and hides somewhere that we lose track of. So here I am in my brain. Oh my God, there's this massive spider that's in the loose of my house and loose in my house. And I made it mad. So in my irrational brain at this point in time, because it was almost nighttime, at bed when it was night time to go to bed, I shoved blankets under my door so it wouldn't get into my room, and I lock my door. That's how irrational I am. I lock my door thinking the spider.
Wait,
is
you locked your
going
door
to-
for the spider?
I locked my door for the spider. This is how I was thinking, and then I even I remember I'm like, no, you're being crazy, and then I unlock it, and then I'm like, nah, fuck it. I lock it again. So I tried to rationalize with myself. So this only further solidified spiders are awful. And I cannot face them. And I try really hard with my daughter, but she has developed a fear of spiders. And I tried to talk her out of it. I'm like, no, spiders are good. Spiders are good. They eat all of the mosquitoes and stuff. They eat the bad stuff. They're good. But one time I flipped out about a spider like in the sink one time because I turned it on, whatever it was there, and I screamed. So now she screams when she sees a spider. I'm like, damn it, no,
we can still work.
I'm supposed to break generational trauma, and not be created.
Correct. Yeah.
So yeah, you went deep, I went spider, and that's how it. Yeah.
Okay. Somewhere in the middle.
There we go. All right, before we wrap up, let's talk about what's coming up next on Book Club After Dark.
Yeah, next week we're going to dive into chapters 37 through 45 of Brimstone by Callie Hart. And of course, we're looking forward to continuing our discussion on Brimstone with you.
And don't forget, we want to hear from you. If you have thoughts on Brimstone or suggestions for future reads, drop a comment below or message us on one of our social media platforms at Book Club After Dark Pod. Show us your fan art, theories, or anything bookish you'd like to share.
Yeah, and you can visit our website, bookclubafterdark.co, to stay up to date on our cozy content and check out our merch.
That's all for tonight. Sleep tight, night owls. Until next time, happy reading.